when you look at your quarterbacks this week, Jarrett's been banged up. We saw Jaden get banged up. Do you kind of have an idea of what their health situation is going to be going into this week?
Oh, I think Jarrett's a lot better. It probably could have been used in emergency, but didn't take any practice reps that were really meaningful last week. I anticipate him being even more ready to play this week as we get going.
And if Jaden can't go, would that be probably who you would go with? Is Jarrett?
Well, we'll see how he practices. We got to. There were weeks that we felt Victor was practicing really well. There was weeks where Cam was doing well. I think they're all very close and all have a little bit of a different skill set and things they're comfortable with. So, but we have to play. I thought Jaden was playing very well. I thought he was playing the best football that I've seen when I've been with him. I thought he was in great command. I think he's very energizing to the team. And we just got to play. We got to, Victor's got to be ready. Cam's got to be ready. And, we got to see if Jarrett can go.
And with Jaden, would you say his status is still uncertain for this week?
Yeah, I think it'll be close. It's day by day right now.
And then after the game on Saturday, Abe Lucas talked about kind of how it felt like that the team could throw the first punch, but it didn't necessarily have a strong chin to kind of take a punch back. I was just curious on your thoughts on kind of what he said and his comments on that.
I didn't see his comments on that, but that's something that we've talked about for over a year. And one of the things we did talk about earlier this year is it really doesn't matter who starts the fight. Some of the, people that, talk a lot of trash, start the fight, it all matters who finishes the fight, and we need to be better at finishing the fight.
And then lastly, just looking at the snap counts from Saturday, Max only got right about half the snaps. And I think we talked about this after the game. Was that just because of the way the game was trending, and as it started to kind of get out of hand, you just wanted to get Nakia and Dion some more touches?
Well, at a certain point, that is how it was thought about. But we feel like we got three good backs, and keeping them fresh for a long season is part of the thought process too.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, the next question is going to be Colton Clark from the Spokesman Review. Go ahead, Colton.
Hey, Coach. Hope things are going well.
Thank you, Colton. Same with you.
Thank you. Utah, I guess, is my first one. What are kind of the primary challenges they present? Are they still kind of a defense-minded team, it look like?
Well, you got a defensive-minded head coach, and I like Kyle very much. I think he's done a really good job with that program in transition to the Pac-12. Has a reputation of being physical, tough, but they've got some explosive playmakers on offense too. I don't know when Britton Covey can graduate, but he seems to be making plays for a long time in this league. The tight end, couple of tight ends that have really strong skill sets, especially 80 with his ability to be a big wide receiver and also an off the ball tight end. I think that's a strong weapon for him. And he seems to be somebody that is really trusted by the quarterbacks. But I think you would assume that they're considered, I guess, a defensive minded team, but they're not opposed to being explosive and putting points on the board, especially in the return game with Covey, right? He got one this year already. So it's not like they're looking forward to punt like some people might think of a defensive oriented team.
We talked a little bit about player mentality after Saturday's game, but on the coaching side, has there been some, reflection done in the past 2 days on how the staff could have improved? And after watching film, what do you take away in that regard?
Well, I think you got to do that after every game. Look at yourself, look at decisions that were made that you were responsible for. And, and learn from them and move forward and discuss it. I think we have a very open staff room. But yeah, I think everyone had to look at themselves after that game and, what could we have done better? What could we have executed better? One good step I thought we did take was, and this was mentioned, when things were starting to turn, Armani Marsh comes up with a big play. I don't know that we've been a little bit adverse of making plays when things started going south on us. So that was a positive. Didn't convert it, but he played a heck of a game. I hope people get a chance to pay attention to him when they're in the stadium. He's such a fantastic football player in person.
And we talked a little bit about the shift in momentum. There were a few moments, and you said to get a better idea, you'd watch some film. Where do you, after reviewing it, where did you see the shift, and could you sense a drop off in several different facets at after halftime or a little bit into the third?
Well, I think Jaden, when Jaden got hurt, was probably people probably didn't want that to happen because he was playing well. The kickoff return to start the half didn't help. And then I think we gave them some juice. Now they made plays, they knocked the ball out and all that stuff, but we had, I really think we could have had a really good mindset getting that touchdown in on the 4 downs down there. Don't regret going for it. I think with a team that talented, if you can go up 14, and if you look back, could have been to 21. I think you really let them start casting doubt on their sideline. Credit to them and their coaching staff and their players, come out, made a few plays, got some energy back. But there's always bad things that happen in the game. You just got to deal with them.
How much of that is your kind of primary emphasis right now? Flushing things quick, flushing bad plays quickly, so things don't snowball.
Well, I mean, it's up there. It's up there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, if you have a question for Coach Rolovich, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. All right, Coach, next question is going to be Brenna Green, Spokane TV. Go ahead, Brenna.
Hi, Coach.
Brenna.
The Utah game last year was obviously one of the most disappointing games, of your tenure, just because you guys were up 28-7, and then obviously it didn't go so well. Just has that game kind of stuck in your mind after last year at all?
Oh yeah, that was something we talked about all off season. There was a time in that game, according to ESPN, I think we were 94.6% to win that game, and didn't get it done. So that was kind of, finishing, taking that last whatever percentage it was, and finishing your reps, finishing your off-season workouts you're running. That was kind of one of the focuses in the off-season. And it'd be good to get a chance to get back down there and kind of flush that from the memory banks.
Yeah, have you guys talked about that game at all with your team?
No, I think I don't know that it needs to be talked about. They'll see the film. I think there's enough. I would assume there's enough being talked about it that they hear. From different sources of media and online and all that stuff, if they're looking at it, but like to concentrate on this team, this new team, and think more positively as we go to attack this week.
Apologies if this has already been asked because I kind of joined midway through. But you said in your press conference on Saturday that you were going to kind of look back on the comebacks and that have happened against your team and kind of address it with your staff. Have you had any sort of conversation with them and maybe have you found any sort of through line there?
No, we definitely talked about it. I don't know when you got on, Brenna, but I think it would be wrong not to talk about it. That's our job. And I didn't quite think of it until after the game when it was brought up, but it happens once maybe, but this is a trend we need to see. We need to adjust what we're doing and look at what we're doing.
Have you found any sort of through line with those comebacks of
Somewhat.
things? Any sort of commonality with those comebacks in terms of things that have happened that you want to specifically improve upon?
I didn't really go through all of them in with a fine-tooth comb to see if there was they all had a similar feeling, and that's my job to stop that and get our energy turned the right way. So that's where I'm starting with it.
And just, you have not tweeted since July 29th. Just what has kind of been your philosophy on social media the last 2 months? Just why has your Twitter account kind of gone quiet, especially since you were a coach when you came in that was well known of interacting with people on Twitter?
I think it's become somewhat of a real negative place that I didn't need. I don't know that it was doing me a lot of good. I enjoyed it, interacting with people, but it seems in the last year it's taken a real I don't know how positive it is for my everyday life, and I assumed it was going to get even more negative as media day approached.
Have you not been on Twitter since July?
Have not. I talked to a couple of coaches around the country who have done that in the last few years, allowed them to kind of focus on their team a little bit more and not get distracted with what people are saying or just hopefully having more productive days.
All right, last chance for questions for Coach. Question. All right, Jamie Vinnick from Goog Fan. Go ahead, Jamie.
Coach, just forgot to ask this earlier. When you kind of look at how the offensive line has run blocked in the first 3 games, is there something that maybe stands out to you, either good or bad?
Oh, I think they improved. I think they improved from game 1 to game 2 for sure. What they're getting is they're getting a lot of unique looks because of the offense and the personnel group, and somewhat different than, and this happens, a lot of times since we've run the offense, you get something new to start the game, and that's their plan for the game. It's a little bit like option, where you get an option defense, you get a defense for us. It's really about the dissecting of what's going on by the coaches and what communication, whether it's the O-line or receivers and quarterbacks and running backs, bring back. But hopefully the rules handle most of that. But yeah, they get some unique looks. USC came with a little bit different look, but all in all, they only get 11 people, and we just got to figure out where they are and how we're going to treat the front and move on from there.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
All right, we got a couple more, Coach.
Okay.
Next question is going to be Dale Grummer from the Lewiston Tribune. Go ahead, Dale.
Nick, are you at liberty to talk a little bit more about Jaden's injury? It was kind of hard to pinpoint when it happened. Was he kind of maybe playing through it there in the second quarter, and then a decision was made at halftime that this is a little more serious than we thought?
I think where he was playing through it in the third quarter. It happened in the late second quarter.
Was it a doctor's call? Was it your call? Was it Jaden's?
It's always a doctor's call with Jaden. Dr. Tingstead is been around here a long time. I like how he handles those situations. He went with the doctors and the trainers. I don't know what their conversation was completely, because I know Jaden wanted to come out and go. He went in and got retaped right before the half started. And then whether it was Doc and him making a decision that he's not sure he could do it. We were prepared to go with Victor because we didn't have the whole answer by the time we were getting ready to come back out of the locker room. So I can't speak specifically on what that conversation was between them two.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome.
All right, Coach, next question is going to be Nick Geranius from the Associated Press. Go ahead, Nick. You there, Nick?
I don't hear him.
Hey, I'm here now. I'm sorry.
There you go.
My question is, where is Jaden injured? What part of his body is not working right?
Below the belt.
Okay. A lot of body down there.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
All right.
All right, Coach, two more questions. First one from me, Brenna Green, Spokane TV. Go ahead, Brenna.
I just was curious, one, if Jaden's injury came on the punt at the end of the second quarter, or if it came on that final play when he was running at the end of the second quarter.
That was a good punt, wasn't it?
It was a good punt.
Yeah. It didn't happen on the punt.
So it happened after that.
Yeah.
And just one follow-up question on the Twitter thing. I was just kind of wondering if you think that you not being on Twitter has any impact on recruiting at all, just because you aren't on there to, interact with recruits or anything like that.
Well, we still interact with recruits. I think phone calls and texts are, I don't think there's any much difference between a text and a direct message on Twitter. But I also think the phone calls, the Zooms, the FaceTimes tend to have a little more depth to the conversation. But yeah, that's where I think about that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, Coach, last one's going to be from Colton Clark, Spokesman Review. Go ahead, Colton.
Just another thing on Jaden. It looked like he was doing pretty well there, directing traffic, and seemed to be. Was he changing a lot of? Was that a big boost, I guess, for him from early in the season to this game? Was he, directing traffic better than he had earlier in the year and changing plays?
I thought he was directing traffic very well. He was in control. He was commanding it. I think he's done a really good job the majority of this year. The biggest jump is, and that was a question mark after last year's, can he control it like that? And I think he's proven us all right. I think that's the bigger jump is from last year to this year. But I do think he was excellent in that arena in the first half of that last game.
How much autonomy does a quarterback generally have in the run and shoot? Is that something that's slowly developed? Like, is that something that Jaden's developing as he goes? He's
developing a comfort level with it. When you mean autonomy, what do you mean?
Like freedom to kind of just, do what they suppose would be right.
I guess that could be one way to put it. I think he's doing what he's coached to do right, with confidence. The quarterbacks and coaches that spend a lot of time working on stuff at the line of scrimmage. And to be honest, they're doing more than a lot of that I had to do in the run and shoot. I think it's a positive when you're talking about next level stuff. I think that was something that I was uncomfortable with when I got a shot at the next level. And I'm glad we are teaching it that way. I'm glad that they are understanding the box in the run game in the pass pro. I think it prepares them more for what they may see at the next level. I think they'll be more comfortable than I was at that time. But it's not that he can really just go out and do whatever he wants. He's going out and making things right for the play that is called for the majority of it.
And last thing, just at practice, how are guys kind of handling it? How have they rebounded? What were the conversations like earlier in this or yesterday or today on that, and how have they responded?
We didn't practice yet. So, went to treatment, saw a bunch of the guys. Obviously, like you would imagine, that's not how they envisioned that ending. But I don't get the feeling guys are throwing in the towel, and there's disappointment, like there should be, for the amount of effort they put into it, and but I still think they care very much about each other and being the best football team they can.